Well, it's definitely been a little bit since we've chatted, and I'm now 38 weeks and 4 days. How crazy is that? Isn't that insane? I feel like if you have been here since the beginning, I don't know if it feels the same to you, but like it feels like everything has just flown by. It has gone by so fast. I would love for time to slow down. I'm really, really enjoying pregnancy, and so I would love to be pregnant longer if I can. We're also super ready for baby at the same time. So whenever he decides to arrive is when he decides to arrive, and we will be perfectly okay with that. Welcome back to my channel. If this is the first time that you're seeing my face, my name is Sydney. I'm a perinatal athletic therapist and postnatal fitness specialist, and I'm currently taking you guys through my first pregnancy kind of from start to finish, and then we're just going to carry right on through into motherhood. So if any of that sounds of interest to you, please subscribe and stick around for a while. We are kind of in full tilt right now, preparing for birth, for postpartum, for baby to arrive, all of that good stuff. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about the sort of non-conventional things that we are doing to prepare for postpartum. A little bit more than like, yeah, like we have our diaper caddies ready to go, like obviously we've put clothes away and we've washed them, like all of those kinds of things, which I feel like everybody does. And so these are all things that I feel like are just talked about a lot less, or just a lot less people do when they're preparing for their baby to come home. So yeah, I'll start off with a bang. One of the absolute best things that we could have possibly done before our baby gets here is have a consultation with a lactation consultant. So our lactation consultant actually does virtual appointments a little bit more, which was still perfectly fine. So we met with her virtually. Both my husband and I were there. And I'm so glad that my husband was there. And he even said too, like there's so many things that he learned that he didn't think he would know otherwise. So essentially what we talked about with her, like we talked about such a massive range of things and such a big variety of things, but she talked to us about all the little nitty-gritty details that we probably wouldn't have known otherwise or would need to look up somewhere. So one of the big things was we are planning to combo pump and nurse if possible. If my production allows for that, that's what we would like to do. And so she essentially walked us through the different parts of our pumps. We have multiple pumps, so the different parts of our pumps, how to measure. I actually measured my nipple size on camera so she could tell me exactly which size it was, and then which size flanges we need to order, because the flanges that come with your pumps are likely not the size that you actually need. So please check to see if that's what you actually need. So she walked us through all of that. She sent us links for the parts that we need to order or needed to order. We've ordered them now. She kind of walked us through like how the pump works, how I will use it when the time comes. Just like all of that kind of stuff about a pump that normally people don't really use a pump until it's time to use it, right? And so she kind of talked us through that whole process. She talked us through baby positioning while feeding, both bottle and nursing. She talked us through like poop colors and how many dirty diapers they should have and all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, it was a really, really, really awesome appointment. And I think it put my mind at ease when it comes to the entire nursing, breastfeeding, pumping process. There's honestly just so much to it, and it really, really took some of the anxious thoughts out of my mind that yeah, I think that was really, really helpful. Now, one of the limitations to a lactation consultant is that not everyone has coverage for them. So often you're going to be paying out of pocket, which can get expensive. So it may be an expense that you want to verbalize to someone who would be purchasing something for you for your baby shower, or start a fund for it or something of that sort, which is what we did for our baby shower, a lot of what we actually asked for was cash so that we could pay for both our doula and our lactation consultant, because both of those services are just really, really important to us. And so we wanted to make sure that the people who were coming to our baby shower had the option of either contributing to those bigger expenses or purchasing items for us. So along with the lactation consultant, I will also say I have started collecting colostrum. Now, this is one of those things that you don't have to do before your baby gets here. It is not a requirement that you collect colostrum beforehand. The reason I'm doing it, so there's a couple reasons. The first one is that it allows me to just get to know my body a little bit better, to get to know my breasts a little bit better. Like, I've been a breast owner for 29 years, and like while I was doing my hand expression for colostrum the first couple times, I was like, I feel like this is a foreign object that's on my body. So just getting comfortable with my body in that way and in that function, because they've obviously never functioned as milk makers in the past because I've never had a baby before. So I'm just getting to know that part of my body. And so that's the first one. It's just like getting to know my body, figuring out hand expression, which can be really useful later, like figuring out all of those kinds of things that I wouldn't necessarily know ahead of time if I didn't do this ahead of time. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I think it's really handy to have colostrum on hand in case it's needed for whatever reason, and it's free. So it's just one of those things that if you're comfortable doing it, if you want to try, if you have the resources to be able to do it, to get the collectors and the syringes and all that kind of stuff, I think it can be really beneficial. Now, through that process, which is very interesting, I discovered I have something that's called rusty pipe syndrome, which my lactation consultant and I were talking about it, and like, that's the worst name ever for this condition. Or disease, as the internet likes to call it. So essentially what happens with me is my breast grew so much throughout pregnancy that there is like leftover blood cells and stuff like that in my milk ducts. And when I express, the color of the colostrum is actually not yellow. It's a little bit more of like a brownish color. And so I kind of freaked out at first, and I sent her a message, my lactation consultant, and she was like, nope, totally normal. It's just something that happens. But it's good for me to know that ahead of time, because if postpartum that milk color does not change from that brown to a white over those first couple of weeks, it may potentially mean that I need some sort of ultrasound or imaging to determine what exactly is going on in my milk ducts. So I'm actually glad that I started ahead of time, because I found that out. So if you have experienced that, I would love to know. Please tell me below. I would love to know if you've experienced that, because very few people have. It's a little bit more rare. But again, it's one of those things that I'm so glad I did ahead of time, because now I know that there's something I need to look out for into postpartum, just to be safe that there's nothing else going on. The next thing we've done is food prep. We have begun to stock our freezer with so much food and I still have a few more things on the list that I want to get into the freezer this week and make for the freezer this week. But I will insert a video of sort of what our freezer stock is looking like right now, but a lot of it is just like quick grab stuff, burritos and wraps and muffins and energy balls and bread and like those kinds of things that are just ready to go. Because here's the thing, everybody brings dinner. Everybody brings you dinner. No one brings you breakfast and lunch. You're typically on your own for those. And so we wanted to make sure that we have some hearty foods that are in the freezer that we can go and grab. We're probably also going to make like a couple lasagnas and stuff. So then that way we're not thinking about like, oh crap, what the heck do we have for lunch now? Now we need to make something. It's just quick grab stuff that we just already have prepared. So I will insert a video here so that you guys can see kind of what that stock looks like. Okay, don't mind my air conditioner. It's super loud upstairs. So what I did in my freezer inside the house is I cleared out the top. So all of these bags are different types of burritos or wraps that we literally just have to toss into the air fryer or the microwave, and then they will cook that way. So essentially what we did is we rolled each one up and then we marked on it what it is. So like these are breakfast wraps. Then I made a couple dozen muffins. I still have some banana loaf, some energy balls, and some little mini quiches that I'm gonna make that will also go in the top here. And then this bin currently just has a couple syringes of colostrum in it, but this will be for breast milk in this bin. So then anything additional will just go outside into our chest freezer. The next thing is our dog. We have booked him at a kennel for approximately a week after our baby's born. And so that way that'll give us a little bit of time to just adjust to being parents, figure out what's going on without Cooper also being there. We may not even leave him there for the full week. Like if day 4, day 5, we're starting to figure things out, we're getting a little more comfortable, that kind of thing, then we're going to bring him home. But the kennel that we bring him to, they're family friends of ours. They're wonderful, and they have offered to even pick him up if we absolutely need, if we're, let's say, rushing to the hospital or something like that. But I just think that that is a really good way for us to just kind of transition into bringing a baby home without him being there. Yeah, I just think it would make things a little bit easier on us. So he'll be gone for that period of time, and then yeah, we'll see when we want to pick him up and when we want to bring him home. We have also set some postpartum boundaries that we will be sending out to family members beforehand, so they know what we expect, what isn't okay, all of that kind of stuff, just so that everyone's on the same page, so that we're not constantly saying it when they come over, so that I mean, really, we shouldn't even have to say it when they come over, but then that way everyone's just on the same page. And so we have set our boundaries that are what we want and what we feel comfortable with. And then we'll just be sending those out ahead of time, whether we're going to send them when we're at the hospital or throughout the next week or so. Not sure yet, but that way they're out to everybody, and then we don't have to worry about telling people what we expect when the baby comes home. The biggest thing is that I just don't want to feel too overwhelmed, and I want to make sure that we have the space that we potentially will need, and at any point the boundaries can change. It's just I'd rather have them set, and then if we need to change them or decide to change them, or we're like, you know what, I actually don't even care about this at all, then we don't have to worry about it. But then at least it's been said ahead of time, rather than not setting any boundaries and then trying to set them, which I think is much harder to do after the fact. And the last thing I've done in preparations for postpartum is just exercise. I have made sure throughout pregnancy that I've gotten some sort of exercise in every single day, whether that's a walk with my dog, multiple walks with my dog, going to the gym, doing a yoga class, whatever the case is. I have made sure that I have been doing some sort of exercise, maintaining my ability to activate my core muscles, making sure that I have still had the ability to relax my pelvic floor, activate my pelvic floor, that I'm still doing functional movements like squatting, like deadlifts, like lifting things over my head, all of those kinds of things. That will make things so much easier postpartum to transition back into rehabilitative exercises, just back into exercising at the gym or going for walks again. So I've made sure to kind of maintain all that stuff, and I've done videos on pretty much all the exercises that I've maintained throughout pregnancy, but also in regards to pelvic floor relaxation and core activations and all that stuff. I have videos on that elsewhere on my channel. I can tag them below for you too. And those things are just really, really important to be able to do as postpartum shows up, kind of like a prehab. Like I treat so many people post hip replacement, post knee replacement, post surgical, who I've also put through a prehab program. So their muscles are ready to go so that they're kind of starting one step ahead rather than going into surgery at that same level and then ending up actually starting a little bit behind. So then this way they can maintain muscle mass, they can maintain muscle activation, they have good posture, they have good strength, all of that kind of stuff. And it just makes the process a little bit more seamless as you go from pre to post. So those are kind of all the things that we are doing to prepare for postpartum that are, like I said, a little bit unconventional, that are not those regular, like setting up the nursery and getting our bins together and all that kind of stuff. These are all things that I think will truly, truly make our postpartum experience that much better. And I'm really excited to utilize some of these things, like our food, like the advice from our lactation consultant, all that kind of stuff. And I really, really hope that it all pays off in the end. And my biggest thing too is if I'm having a really, really hard time postpartum, it's not because I wasn't prepared, and it's not because I didn't have the information, or I didn't prepare myself enough, or I didn't prepare our house or our family enough. It will be because of external factors that I don't have control over. And so for the most part, that's the biggest reason why we've done so much postpartum prep, just to make that transition as smooth as absolutely possible. And I'm just really hoping that it all pays off. I would love to know what you have done to prepare for postpartum. So if you would like to, please let me know in the comments below. Other than that, thank you for joining me in this video today, and I will talk to you guys soon.